this video, we're going to be looking at using the unit circle to evaluate the 6 trigonometric functions. So first, for a definition, the circle x squared plus y squared equals 1, which has radius 1 and center 0, 0 is the unit circle, and we see that here. So our radius basically is 1, and it's a circle that is created from that. And something that we see here is that sine of theta and cosine of theta are just going to be your y and x coordinate. So sine of theta is the y coordinate of the point where the terminal side of theta intersects the unit circle, and cosine of theta is the x coordinate. So here, x is equal to cosine of theta, and y is equal to sine of theta. And this is convenient to use with quadrantal angles, and this is an angle in standard position whose terminal sides lies on an axis. In other words, its measure is always a multiple of 90 degrees or pi over 2 radians. So it's easiest to use the unit circle when we're trying to find a trig function of these types of angles. So when it basically, what if it lands here, 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 or here. And so let's review what those points are. So that's going to be the point 1, 0, 0, 1, negative 1, 0, and 0, negative 1. So this is going to be useful for 0 degrees, 360 degrees, 90 degrees, 180 degrees, 270 degrees. But it also could be written in radians, so we could have 0 or 2 pi, pi over 2, pi, or 3 pi over 2, or so on, any multiple of those. So let's go ahead and do some practice with using the unit circle. So we're going to use the unit circle to evaluate the 6 trigonometric functions of the given angle. So the first one we have theta is equal to 270. So first I'm going to go ahead and draw this angle in standard position. So remember here we're looking at degrees. This is 0, 90, 180, and 270 is right there. And so I have a unit circle here. My theta is going like this. And so the point where that angle intersects at is going to be right here, which is at 0, negative 1. And so that means that my x is equal to 0, which we see here. Y is equal to negative 1. And for unit circle, we learned that the radius is always 1. So it means that r is equal to 1. And now we're going to use those same definitions to find the 6 trigonometric functions. So sine of theta we know is y over r. Y we see is negative 1. R is 1. So that means that sine of theta is equal to negative 1. Cosine of theta is x over r. X is 0, r is 1, and 0 divided by 1 is equal to 0. And then tangent of theta is equal to y over x. Y is negative 1, x is 0. So here we need to be careful. I see that I have 0 in the denominator, and we cannot have that. So that means the answer for tangent of theta is going to be undefined. So when you go into your homework, if you get with a denominator of 0, then you're going to type undefined for that answer. Cosecant is just sine of theta flipped, so it's going to be 1 over negative 1, so that's still going to be negative 1. Secant of theta is cosine flipped, so it's going to be 1 over 0. However, I can't have 0 in the denominator, so that means that this is undefined. And then cotangent is tangent flip, so I have 0 over negative 1, which is equal to 0. So it's okay to have 0 in the top, because 0 divided by any number is just equal to 0. We just can't divide by 0. Now this next one we have theta is equal to 5 pi over 2. So this one is written in radians. And so my first step is to go ahead and draw that angle. And here it's helpful to remember what each section here is axis is in radians. So the first one always starts at 0. And then you're adding pi over 2 each time. And so this is pi over 2. So pi over 2 is equal to 90 degrees. If I add another pi over 2, I get 2 pi over 2, which is just equal to pi. And then 2 pi over 2, add another pi over 2 over that, you get 3 pi over 2. And then 4 pi over 2, which is just 2 pi. And then I see the next one is 5 pi over 2. And so that means that my angle here is ending on this axis. So I draw my unit circle, and I see that point is going to be at 0, 1. So now I can go ahead and figure out what my x, y, and r are. So I have x on the point 0, 1, x is equal to 0, y is equal to 1, and r is always equal to 1. So filling this out, I have sine of theta is y over r, and y is 1, r is 1, so I have 1 over 1, which is just equal to 1. Cosine of theta is x over r, which is going to be 0 over 1, which is equal to 0. And then tangent of theta is y over x, which is going to be 1 over 0. But remember, we can't divide by 0, so this ends up being undefined. And then cosecant is sine of theta flipped, so I get 1 over 1, which is just, again, equal to 1. Secant of theta is cosine flipped, so I get 1 over 0, which is undefined because I can't have 0 in the denominator. I can't divide by 0. And then cotangent of theta is tangent flipped, so I get 0 over 1, which is equal to 0.